30 seconds in, she guillotine me. I
What's up, guys? Welcome back to Jiu-Jitsu TV. Today we have Professor Chris Hinojosa. All right, Professor Hinojosa, thank you so much for coming on Jiu-Jitsu TV. I know myself and the viewers definitely appreciate it.
Of course, man. It's a pleasure. Thank you very much, Travis, man. It's been a long time. I'm definitely here supporting 100%, bro. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you. All right, well, let's get started here. So, Professor, what does Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu mean to you?
So, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu to me means more than just being a martial art. Honestly, people say this all the time. It's a way of life. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu to me is definitely embodies that saying exactly there. It is a way of life. It's a way for me to wake up in the morning, to have a positive mindset about everything, to have the confidence to take on whatever challenges that come my way, because Jiu-Jitsu's actually instilled that kind of confidence in me. I think that we're going to give you a brief summary of exactly what Jiu-Jitsu means to me for sure.
Cool. Well, why don't you tell us about your journey to black belt? From when you kind of first started. Maybe start with what motivated you to even go to the gym in the first place.
Sure. So, man, let's talk about this real quick. So, my journey to black belt, my journey in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu itself, came at a different path. Now, I've actually been doing martial arts most of my life. I have a Taekwondo background, traditional karate background. My uncle actually owned an academy in my hometown of Alice, Texas, where I was born. I studied under him for quite a while until we actually moved to Austin, and I was basically self-taught between here and there. But I think I was 25 years old. A good friend of mine, TJ Garcia, very phenomenal boxing instructor, by the way, told me, he was like, hey, I found this awesome place. You need to come check it out. You've always been into grappling. And of course, this was like the time I started in 2007. UFC was just coming out there too. Everybody was seeing Royce Gracie mess people up with all these arm locks and chokes. So, and I thought, I was like, man, I have to learn something. TJ had turned me on to Professor Brian Evans, Austin Submission Fighting. At the time, we were just Brian was actually just in a single car garage. TJ took me there, and the very first class I remember, single car garage, there's mirrors all up against there. We're doing boxing drills, hand fighting drills. And I started joining. At the time, I think I was about 230 pounds. Big guy. I thought I was a big old, wannabe gangster type of deal. Got in there, did some hand drills, and at the end of class, Brian was like, okay, we're going to grapple now, and I want you to grapple. At the time, well, still is, his wife, Mally. Mally had probably weighed 130 pounds. I remember I was like, man, I'm going to kill this woman. I'm outweigh her by 100 pounds. 30 seconds in, she guillotined me. I remember I was like, no, there's something wrong here. No, you know what? I was going a little too easy. Let me turn up the heat just a little bit. So I tried, I mean, and I say I tried because I tried. 45 seconds later, Mally was guillotining me again. And I was just like, wow, if this man can teach this woman to actually do this to me, and I felt like I was pretty comfortable. I had been in some street fights, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, if this guy can teach this woman how to do this to me, I got to be in the right place. This guy knows what he's doing. And I tell you what, it's been 15 years since then. Professor Brian Evans is now, like I said, third-degree black belt. We're under Rafael Lovato Jr., and he has been my core instructor since day one. Brian has always been there forever. He's always encouraged us to go and explore, make friends, try other people's academies, but, remember where home is, and it's exactly what I did. You know what I mean? I've been there ever since, Professor actually promoted me to the rank of black belt in February. So it's been a little about 4 months since I've been a black belt. So
that's great.
That's what my journey's been so far, man.
Awesome. That's how did it feel? How did it feel when you got your black belt?
So if you've known me, obviously, Travis, you've trained with me before. I was a brown belt for 5 years.
Yep.
And
Yep.
people say that. I mean, honestly, if you know jiu-jitsu, when you actually get to that point, you're going to be a brown belt, 6 months to 2 years, depending on exactly where you're at. But, life happens. Uh, I think at a certain point, you understand where your level's at and where you hang with everybody else. And belts at that point are actually just a formality.
Yeah.
Was I stoked? Was I ecstatic? Yes, because you know what, that is something that obviously I've been chasing ever since I started jiu-jitsu. You don't get into jiu-jitsu just thinking, oh, I'm just going to be a blue belt or a purple belt. No,
Yeah.
you want to be a black belt. So 15 years is basically what it almost took me, and I remember it being very proud, uh, feeling a sense of accomplishment, because again, it took so long to do it. But again, receiving it from Professor Brian Evans itself was incredible, because you know what, to say that I've been there since day one and he's seen me grow and made me into the jiu-jitsu practitioner that I am now. So it was, it's a stoic feeling, bro. Stoic feeling, sure.
Awesome. That's a feeling that I can't wait to achieve one day. Earn
Oh, bro,
my
I know
black.
you will.
Awesome. All right. So on the long road, like on your BJJ journey, how did it end up changing your life?
So, with life, it's funny that you say life, because life happens to everybody, and everybody accounts, what happens in life in jiu-jitsu to relate to one another. I think that jiu-jitsu for me has changed my life in many facets, and has actually helped me through life in many facets as well. Uh, I've been married and divorced. I've had many relationships that have failed and prospered because of jiu-jitsu. And I
Mm-hmm.
can tell you, for me, jiu-jitsu is one of my deal breakers. If I'm with you and you're not on the jiu-jitsu train with me, or at least understand what I'm doing, then you're not going to be supporting me, and I don't need you in my life.
Yeah.
Uh, I think jiu-jitsu has taught me to overcome a lot of things, and man, I just can't reiterate how much it actually has done for me. I mean, I can go on about example after example, Travis, if you want, man. But we're going to be here forever if we do that.
Yeah, no worries. How did you handle failure, so to speak, when you first started jiu-jitsu? Like, what kept you coming back to the gym?
Failure is the mother of all success. And honestly, that really sums it up. Honestly, getting your butt kicked when you're 100 pounds over by a woman does something to your pride.
Yeah.
But you know what? I found out, I was like, you know what? I know that, again, like I said, if Brian can teach this woman to beat my butt, I know that he can teach me to beat anybody else too. I took that failure right there and used it as a positive, because I knew exactly what was in store for me. You know, uh,
Gotcha.
don't be afraid to fail. If I could tell anybody, never be afraid to fail, because for one, when you fail, for one, you actually tried.
Yeah.
You didn't sit there and just talk about it. You actually did something about it. The fact that you actually had the will to actually get up and actually attempt something that you're always talking about. That's that's phenomenal right then and there. Don't be afraid to fail, because eventually you are going to succeed. You know what I mean? Just like I said, failure is a mother of all success. It breeds success.
Yeah.
You know,
Definitely. What kept you coming back other than knowing you'd eventually succeed? Because you take a lot of punishment in the beginning for sure. Did you have any like? Was there any mindset trouble or anything you had in the beginning, or were you more confident about it?
I think that you always go through peaks and valleys when you're in your journey, and of course, mental is definitely one of those. You have to. What kept me coming back day after day after getting my butt kicked was the
Yeah.
fact that I just knew that I was going to get better just by being there. Now, again,
Definitely.
there were times that I would go against, blue belts and purple belts when I was there, and I was just simply ragdolled. And it's just,
Mm-hmm.
of course, you have those doubts, like, bro, what am I doing to myself? Like,
Yep.
do I really need to endure this kind of punishment? And it really comes to whether your mental fortitude is there or not. Can you actually overcome that?
Yeah.
Can you actually overcome your own pride and be
Yes.
okay with getting your butt kicked for about the first 2 years? Because you know what, honestly, white belt at that point in time, your job is primarily to learn and to suck at jiu-jitsu, because it's
Yeah.
honestly the truth. Unless you're just, that 3% that is just phenomenal and just comes natural, expect to suck for at least 6 months to 2 years, so you have to start
Yeah.
grabbing, getting a hold of it.
Yeah.
You
For
know
sure.
that's definitely one thing for sure. I mean, just don't let it stop you. Don't let the butt kicking stop you from wanting to make yourself better. You know what I mean? Not just
Yeah.
because jiu-jitsu makes you a total badass, of course, self-defense wise, but you know what, just the fortitude that you actually gain by actually coming back every day, that
Mhm.
by far you can actually use that in so many facets of life.
Definitely. That's a great answer. That's probably a money tip right there for sure.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
So, have there been any barriers to your success?
I think that all success comes with barriers. You know what I mean? They always come with obstacles. Nothing is ever just going to be given to you. Uh,
Yeah.
the obstacles are what you make them too. Obviously, there are injuries, and within my
Mhm.
journey, I've suffered plenty of knee injuries. I've snapped tendons. I've broken fingers and toes. You know, has it stopped me? No. Will it stop me? No. Again, that's just your mental fortitude. Are you prepared to take that kind of damage to your body to achieve your goals? You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Definitely.
I definitely am. I definitely have. And I will continue to, because I see the benefit in jiu-jitsu, and even though it may hurt me temporarily, what it does for me long term outweighs that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. For sure. That's a great answer. Let's see. All right, let's switch it up for a minute.
Sure.
What does being a leader mean to you? Because you're as a black belt, you're a leader in your in your own home gym, and you're a leader in the jiu-jitsu community. So, what does that mean to you?
I remember thinking about this question a little bit too when I read this too, and I remember like being a white belt and being a blue belt, and looking up to these higher ranks, that were brown belts and black belts, and seeing how they led, and what being a leader means. There's a lot to it, you know what I mean, and it means a lot to me, because I love to teach. I love to be able to, I love to think myself as a leader, not a follower. But you
Yeah,
know what, being able to uh teach somebody something and be able to have them learn it, grasp it, and use it, it's very satisfying to me. uh Being a leader in jiu-jitsu and in this community is very hard to do in general, because you know what, honestly, I mean, even though there's not many black belts, there are a lot of black belts, if you think about it like
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
um Now, Professor Brian will actually account to this. We talk about this quite often, that there's layers of black belts. There's certain types of black belts. You know what I mean?
Sure.
But regardless, like you're saying, all of them, all of us should all be leaders, and we all should be striving to actually push each other and all of our students to be better.
Yeah,
Um, for me, I take personal enjoyment out of being a leader and being recognized as a leader, and it makes me want to hold myself up to a higher standard, and to actually live my life by that code.
yeah,
And to actually not only show that I'm a black belt on the mats, but in life as well. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Take the lessons
Definitely.
that you actually learn from jiu-jitsu and apply those to life, because again, being a black belt on the mats doesn't mean that you can't be a black belt in life. They go hand in hand.
Yeah, that's a great point, and I think a lot of the black belts that I've met seem to be really nice people, and not pretty humble, not ego driven. But I've met a couple that were pretty big jerks, and I always think to myself like, how did that guy get a black belt? Not always, but sometimes.
Yeah.
Um, you're right. I
Well,
think I think it does. You should hold yourself to a higher standard,
for
sort of
sure.
at that point.
But if you think about this too, Travis, I mean, even though they tell us like we're supposed to drop our ego at the door and not let that affect us. I mean, a lot of us, when we actually get that black belt, I don't want to say a lot of us because I don't know specific numbers, but for some, hey, I mean, that ego's like, hey, I'm a black belt. I'm a
Yeah.
certified badass now. And now they want to continue that vibe. You know what I
Sure.
mean? Where, me personally, hey, I've got my butt kicked by, blue belts and purple belts that have been doing jiu-jitsu since they were 5. I mean, does that
Yeah.
mean that does it mean I'm any less of a black belt? No. You know what I mean? It just means that they're awesome.
Yeah.
But, don't ever, don't ever think that being a black belt, that people are not looking at you to be some type of leader, because honestly they are. White belts look up to black belts because honestly the black belt just in general is recognized as being just a all around, all-knowing master of whatever it is, whatever
Yeah.
art that you have. Now I will one for say that I am definitely a master of none, but I love jiu-jitsu enough and I put in enough time and effort into it to be recognized as a black belt, you know what I mean?
Sure.
So
Yeah, it's funny because as a white belt, when I would see black belts, and I've kind of talked about this with other people too, it's like they're almost like a mystical figure. When they come to the gym, it's like, oh, a black belt is
yeah,
here.
yeah,
You
right.
know, it's pretty funny.
It's pretty cool, man. I mean, now to actually be one of those is, you know what I mean? You feel sort of nostalgic a little bit, you know what I mean? But again,
Yeah,
it does come with a lot of responsibility, bro. You know what I mean?
gotcha.
It really does.
So, what has been one of the toughest times, or you can name a few if you'd like, that you faced in jiu-jitsu? Maybe not like barriers to your success, but just you were going through a tough time and how you overcame it.
I took a different path in my jiu-jitsu career. I decided to be a really active competitor. A lot of other guys are actually just doing it just for hobby. You know what I mean? I actually took this very seriously. I thrive on success. I love the feeling of being on that stage. You know what I mean? So I think that doing that changed my direction with jiu-jitsu a whole lot. Um, I looked at it completely different. I took my classes more seriously than the average person.
Yeah,
Um, but I think that being a competitor changed my life and my game for the better because it taught me to overcome a lot of adversity. Um,
true.
Dear, I'm trying to piggyback off the question too, bro. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay, man. If you want to, my next question for you was going to be about competition. Do you have any competition advice, like for white belts or just anyone in general? Like, how do you handle? Because you've been on the big stage before several
Yes.
times. Like,
Yeah.
how do you handle the nerves and stuff before you compete?
Uh, Everybody gets nerves, but the thing is that I embrace those nerves. A lot of people happen to get nervous about that, but I really like again, I thrive off that energy.
Yeah,
I When you step on those mats and people are there for a show and you know that you have people in that crowd that are supporting you and believing in you, when you step on that stage, that feeling, that energy, that vibe, it's magical. You know what I mean? I live for that feeling. I think that there was a couple of times in my career at brown belt that, like on the previous question, um, adversity. I think one of
yeah,
my first pro matches as a brown belt, I was actually going against Billy Clark. Billy Clark's a phenomenal instructor out of San Antonio, out of Ohana West, a good friend of mine. Um, legit brown belt at the time, the same way I was. I was actually just a baby brown belt, and I remember getting my ass choked out in about a minute or two. I had people that were there counting on me and cheering me on, and I was living off that moment. But getting my ass choked. I'm sorry, getting my butt choked out by Billy on that stage made me think for a quick minute, about what am I that good? You know what I mean? Because that's part of the adversity. Sometimes the ego gets into your head and you start questioning yourself like, okay, do you deserve to be there? The question is, yeah. I mean, the answer is yes, you deserve to be there because, obviously you've been there plenty of times. Um, Stuff happens, you know what I mean? You lose, you can't win them all. We're not all Marcelo Garcia, we're not all Rafael Lovato
definitely.
Jr., you know what I mean? I think for white belts going into a tournament, for one, again, Don't be afraid to fail, but go in with a game plan. A lot of people that I know go into tournaments and just be like, oh, I'm just going to wing it. Or, you know what, I'm going to feel what they're going to do and I'm going to be able to react. No, you're not. You're going to be behind and you're going to have to play catch up. I guarantee the other guy has a game plan. They've drilled it. They've worked it. If you're going to be in tournaments, take it seriously. You know what I mean? Keep in mind that you are going with somebody who is your rank and has actually put in some time and effort into doing what they're doing too. So do yourself a favor and put in the time and work too. Go out there and give it your all. It's only going to be 3 to 5 minutes of your life.
Yep.
For each match. Don't be afraid to get your butt kicked, because you know what? Eventually, you're not going to get your butt kicked anymore, and you're going to be the one giving the butt kickings. I
Yeah,
love
that's great
tournaments.
advice. Yeah, me
Love
too.
tournaments. Get in there. You know what I mean? Don't be afraid.
Yeah, the rush, or however you want to say it, when your name
Don't.
gets called and you step out on the mats, for me,
Yes.
everything just fades away and I can
Yes.
visualize my opponent and it's like game on. It's such a great
I mean,
feeling.
it's you and him. It's not a team sport. You know what I mean? And that's where, just like everybody says, the mat never lies. The mat's going to tell you how much work you've been putting in. Have you put in enough? Are you thinking? Because remember, this is the game of human chess. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
For every move, there's always a counter. You know, for a counter. The combinations are seamless. You know what I mean? The possibilities are endless. You know what I mean? Embrace that. Live it. Explore. That's one thing I tell white belts as well. Explore. And don't be afraid to roll with upper belts. If the upper belt's a douche and he's going to try to sub you in 30 seconds, well, get with somebody else. Whenever I roll with anybody who is a lower rank than me, I always tell them, me beating you in 30 seconds does nothing for you, and does nothing for me either.
Yeah, exactly.
I love to sit there and let you explore and work and to see where you're at. You know what I mean? That's the only way you're going to learn.
Yeah, that's great. Great advice for sure.
Thank you, brother.
So, who are some of your BJJ mentors?
Well, Professor Brian Evans for sure. I mean, that's got to be number one. I think number two would probably be. I can't fail to mention Professor Rafael Lovato Jr., because obviously he is our general. He is the one that we always turn to for advice. He's always there for us when we need him. So Rafael Lovato Jr. for sure is definitely one of them. Professor Brian Evans, of course. I do have two of my very good friends, Professor Joe Ochoa, double black belt, judo and jiu-jitsu. My very good friend who's actually competing tonight in La Onda Invitational here in Austin, Carlos Baca.
Awesome.
He is a black belt candidate. He's been a brown belt for quite for a little bit now, but his skill and technique is on point. Definitely needs to be a black belt. But these two are actually some of my mentors, and we actually piggyback off each other quite often.
Yeah.
There are a couple of other people too that I actually look up to that are actually not even black belts, and not to say that you can't, because it's like, I tell you what, J.R. Caballero, another one, purple belt, phenomenal guy. I got to roll with him when I was up in Dallas when he was a green belt. As a matter of fact, I was a purple belt, and I continue to get my damn arm almost broken pretty much every time I roll with him. He's a phenomenal practitioner, bro. I mean, he is the embodiment of jiu-jitsu when you actually give everything to it. If you dedicate your life to jiu-jitsu, you can be just successful as any of us, and he is a prime example of that.
That's awesome. Wow. Okay, Professor. What are your top 5 favorite submissions?
Oof. Right now, let's see. I gotta go. Number one is still my cross collar choke. Cross collar choke has still got to be my number one from the mount position. If I get a hold of that collar, I am gonna squeeze the heck out of you. Number two is probably gonna be, honestly, when when number one fails, I usually go number two, and that's my Ezekiel choke. My Ezekiel choke is a very one of my favorite weapons. Honestly, let's see. Obviously, you can't neglect the heel hook, because I heel hook in both gi and no gi. I don't care if you're wearing it or not. Respect the heel hook for sure, bro. Let's see here. Let's see here. Yeah, so we got the RNC. You got to go classic. You know what I mean? If I'm taking your back, if I
Yep.
can't get to that collar choke, I'm definitely gonna try to RNC you, bro. You know, and the last one, last but not least, honestly, a good old fashioned triangle. Good old fashioned
Heck yeah.
triangle, bro. You know, these long legs like to reach around necks and squeeze the heck out of them, brother. If I can do it anytime I can, I definitely will. Those
Yeah.
five
Same here.
are definitely some of my go tos, and I like them all because they happen to link at one point or another. You know.
That's awesome.
What
So,
about you right
do
now?
you
What's your favorite submission right now, Travis?
probably X choke or wrist lock? I would think.
Ah, prison rules. He
Yeah.
says he likes the wrist lock.
Yeah. Prison rules. I don't know. I just started doing them one day, and now I just see them everywhere. So
Nice, nice.
if I can get my arm behind your elbow, I'm probably going to
Oh
try to
yeah,
attempt
bro.
it at least.
And even if you can't get the wrist lock, you're gonna instill some kind of reaction. You're gonna make a move. You know
Exactly.
what I mean? So
Yeah,
you're gonna get
for
something
sure.
out of it for sure. Nice. I love it. Loving it, bro.
Yeah. All right, Professor. Do you have any advice for white belts? Anything that you want to say, not to put out there for the white belts listening?
Straight up. Why belts? Straight up. Listen to me right quick. Don't be afraid to suck. And it sounds weird, honestly. Don't be afraid to suck. Because honestly, for the first, again, 6 months, 2 years, that is going to be your job. Your job is going to be to sit there and learn and then get your butt kicked. You know what I mean? Obviously, whenever you actually go with different people of your same rank and same skill level, you are going to have some good matches back and forth. But don't be discouraged when you get beat. Realize that within 6 months, you'll be a completely different person.
Yep.
The person that you were when you first got there, you will wipe the mat with them in 6 months. Embrace that. Don't be afraid to suck. Learn and always ask questions. Don't sit there and do something because your professor says it has to be done this way. No, 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 no. There's a million ways to skin a cat.
Yep.
Okay? Just because he does it one way doesn't mean it cannot be done another way. Your body and the way you move is going to be completely different from everybody else. You're going to learn 1,000 million techniques within your lifetime of jiu-jitsu, but you're only going to retain a few of them that work for your body type and your jiu-jitsu game. Embrace that. Don't think you have to know 1,000 moves. No. A master is a master of 2 or 3 techniques and knows how to use them for different positions and variations.
Yep.
Don't be afraid to suck. Ask questions and show up. That is my
That's great.
advice.
Great answer. I just kind of want to go back for a second. Earlier, you said to roll with upper belts. Can you talk
Yes,
about that just for a few seconds?
sure. So whenever you're actually rolling with upper belts, keep in mind now you are new. You know what I mean? You are going to get your butt kicked a little bit, but now be safe in what you're doing too. You have to be comfortable with who you're rolling with. You know, obviously you don't want to get hurt and you don't want to hurt anybody else. Now, you'll hear a lot of people say spazzy white belt. And it happens because you are new to the sport and you are trying to do exactly what you feel is correct. It's okay. You're going to do that. Just be safe and secure with whoever you're rolling with. Make sure you feel okay, and you're going to succeed in everything else. All right. Don't be afraid to explore, but always tap if you don't feel comfortable. Reset and do it again. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with tapping, especially in the academy. That is where the lab is at. That's where all the experiments are going to occur. Work your game there, refine your game there. When you get onto the mats, onto the competition scene, that's when you show exactly what you've learned and what you've retained. Don't be afraid to suck, especially against upper belts.
Yeah, that's great advice. Professor, is there anything that you would just like to put out into the jiu-jitsu universe? It doesn't have to be for white belts, just anything you want to say.
Jiu-jitsu is ever evolving, and I think that jiu-jitsu 5 years from now is going to be almost unrecognizable from what it is today. I think that the caliber of people that we're going to have within a 5 year term is going to be phenomenal. I can't wait to experience it. I can't wait for y'all to be part of it. Do yourselves a favor. if you have any daughters, I'm saying this out of a win because I have 6, honestly. Um, get them in jiu-jitsu. Do whatever you can to actually let them experience this, because you know what? Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is one of the best self-defense arts for women in general. If you can, teach them everything you can. Women need to have some kind of defense because this world can be a scary place, and better to have knowledge than not to. I hope all y'all continue on your journey. Don't stop, even though there's going to be obstacles. Don't figure out ways to stop. Figure out ways to keep on going. The journey is going to be a lifetime. I can't wait to see all y'all there. Keep on. Os.
That was great. Professor, thank you so much for coming on the show today. The viewers and I appreciate it, and I know that you got a busy Sunday ahead of you. So good luck with your friend's match and coaching, and hopefully I'll get to see you soon.
Travis, thank you very much. It's an honor of mine to be on your show, brother. I can't wait to roll with you some more, Papa. You know, it's been too damn long. Guys, y'all come out, check out Travis's page, man. We can't wait to see him succeed and everything else in life too. We got you back 100%, bro.